LeBron James is my favorite basketball player, one of my heroes. And before every game, he writes "the man in the arena" on his shoes. And it's from a Theodore Roosevelt speech where essentially he says, the person that matters isn't the critic or the person who points at the strong man who's doing the things. It's the man in the arena. It's the person who's actually doing that. And even if that person fails or falls short, at the very least, they will know what it feels like to have tried. Even if I'm criticized for this or if it doesn't do well and people laugh at it and all that kind of stuff, at least I tried.
David Larbi is a creator, musician and TV presenter who started his journey releasing content across TikTok and Instagram in 2020. His videos feature lyrical analysis and comedy, as well as focusing on mental health and mindfulness through poetry. He also gives us an insight into his passion for reading, his long-term goals, and an exciting new opportunity that he's working on with Netflix US. David joins Digital Voices for this episode of Creator Behind the Influence to discuss how his love for music and dance led to him creating content for TikTok.
Hello and welcome to Creator Behind the Influence, Digital Voices podcast, where we sit down with some of the world's top content creators to ask them about their journeys and insights on the industry. This should be really useful whether you're an aspiring creator yourself or if you're a marketer and looking to understand the creator economy. Please consider subscribing to our channel. All right, let's go.
And we are here today with a wonderful, multifaceted, you're the first person on the podcast who I think has come from TikTok, fundamentally. Like, that's how you were discovered. I think we've had a lot of YouTube creators, so it's going to be really exciting.
Nice.
Got David Larbi here.
Hi.
There he is in all his glory. Check out the shoes. I don't know if you can see them. I don't know if anyone can see it yet. So I think we're going to cover a cacophony of topics because, you know, your content spans everything from like music to comedy to literature to poetry to fashion to... How did you get started?
So originally I started with music. So music has always been my first interest, my first real creative love kind of thing. So when I started TikTok, it was to post my own music. And then I started posting lyric analysis videos because I tried to do a cover of a song once. The cover wasn't working the way it should have. And I talked about my favorite lyric from a Frank Ocean song. And that video kind of blew up. And I straight away was kind of like, okay, cool. Another one, and another one, and another one. And that's what got my first kind of bump of followers on TikTok. And that was during the second lockdown, November 2020. So I was still working at that time. But all of a sudden it was like, wow, TikTok, I didn't realize this was a thing. I always thought I was too old for TikTok as well, because I've got a little sister who's very Gen Z and I'm much older than her. So I always thought I was too old for it. But that's when I realized there could actually be a place for me here.
How old are you, if you don't mind me asking?
25.
25. I love that you say it. I'm 32 and scroll TikTok so much. 25, okay. It's like, you know, when they say on TikTok, like the older generation on TikTok, like those born in the late 90s, you're like... Yeah. That's how my sister talks to me. So okay, cool. So when did you... So you started out wanting to do music, but you didn't study music at uni. So did you do music from when you were a kid? Yes, I played my siblings and I all play the piano and like do at least one other musical thing. So from when I was a kid... And in church as well, we would always play music. So that's where I started. That makes sense. Yeah. Church in London. Did you grow up here? Yeah, I grew up in London. Cool. Awesome. And then, sorry, I was like, have visions of the Von Trapp family. And you said like your whole family. I think my dad slightly had visions of the Von Trapp. We used to, after church on Sundays, sorry, you triggered a memory. After church on Sundays, and bear in mind, I've got 3 brothers and a sister, but my sister was the long then at that time. So it was me and my 3 brothers. And every Sunday, my dad would put on the Sound of Music and fall asleep. And we weren't allowed to change it, so we had to watch The Sound of Music every Sunday for about 3 months straight. So you're very used to singing my favourite things and that like goodnight farewell song. Did you ever do performances with your siblings? Yes, like in church, in school, like kind of anywhere where we could perform like we would, yeah. That's so cool. Were you like, okay, so were you the singer, were you the pianist, or were you all of the above? Like, I was usually the singer because I'm an extrovert and all 3 of my brothers are introverts. When people meet me first and then meet my brothers, they're always quite surprised by how quiet they are. They're all fiercely intelligent, very, very funny, and all very good at socializing, but prefer their own company. Whereas I'm very extroverted. Yeah, you are good at like talking to people straight off the get. Yeah, I like that. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. So you didn't study music though? You didn't do music at uni? You did English and French literature? Yes. English literature and French language. Yeah, I mean, I initially
was going to apply for law, did a law placement in year 12, hated it. I thought, I can't do this. Applied for English originally, didn't get the results I needed for the uni. I got my original firm uni. Yeah. So on results, they called the uni I went to, Royal Holloway, and said, can I actually do English and French? Because I'd enjoyed French A-level a lot. I was like, you know what, I want to speak French. So yeah, I did English and French, did a year abroad in Paris. It was a lot of fun.
That's cool. So you've stayed in London your whole uni experience, your whole childhood?
Yeah, pretty much.
Apart from Paris?
Yeah.
Very cosmopolitan.
Yeah.
So what was it about learning French as well?
In England, we know how to speak English, and then we go everywhere else and expect everyone else to speak English. And I got to the end of GCSE and realised I've spent 2 years of my life on this, and I know how to say, I want to go to the swimming pool with my friends. I don't know how to do anything else. So I just thought if I could be fluent in French, that'd be really cool. And then did it up until, degree level.
That's so cool. Yeah, because we're really good, at saying where's the library and where's the swimming pool. But if you want anything else, you're kind of screwed as a British person abroad. Yeah,
and when I was studying in France, all the other international students at the uni, French was like their third or fourth or fifth language, and French was my second. And I was kind of like, wow, we really don't do much of languages in England. Yeah. Did that shape
what you wanted to do next? So after you graduated uni, what did you go into music then, or what did you?
I was working in accounting actually.
Random.
Yeah, super random. I kind of stumbled into it. I had a part-time job at uni, which was like a car parts company. I was in their stockroom, and then I went on my year abroad and came back and called and said, I used to work in your stockroom. Can I come back and have that job back? They said our stockroom's moved up to Barnsley, but the guy who was head of accounts at the time was the one who answered my call. And we met for a coffee, and he said, you could do some filing and stuff. It's not the most interesting. I said, I don't care. It's a job. And then whilst I was there, a couple of people, someone left, someone went on maternity leave, and they kind of had a hole in the accounts and asked me to just temporarily for the summer do their purchase ledger clerk. And I was good at it, and then ended up doing it for the rest of my final year. I was working 30 hours a week, which I really shouldn't have been. But I was doing that for the rest of my final year, and then carried on after uni finished, and got to the point where I was thinking about doing my accounting qualifications. Exams. But then when I talked about it with my boss, all of a sudden I realised I could see the next 20 years. I was kind of like, all right, if you do these exams, you'll have to work the job for a bit afterwards, absolutely. Fine, for like 5 years, then you want a promotion, so you get promoted, then all of it, I haven't tried to do anything I like it.
Yeah.
So I quit.
So how old were you when you quit, and what was it just like quit on a whim because you were like, this isn't the future I want?
Yeah, I was 22, and quit on a, sorry, I can't come in tomorrow, because I want to leave. Yeah.
That's really cool. That's quite brave. Did you feel like it was brave or reckless at the time?
I felt like it was slightly reckless because just the way I was kind of raised is that traditional jobs are the kind of things I should be aiming for, at least something with structure. So like towards business, or both my parents are engineers, or some law, medicine, or something like that. So I felt reckless doing it, but I didn't feel like it was particularly brave, because if anything, I felt opposite. I felt like it's not brave because I'm quitting because I can't see myself sticking this out. I'll be unhappy, and I don't want to be unhappy, which doesn't sound like the best rationale for getting rid of what was quite a stable job. But it's because I knew I'd make up for it in how hard I worked at whatever I did like. Yeah.
Whatever you chose to do. So what did you spend the next few months after that doing? What was your...
I was in an immersive theatre production in central London. Yeah, it was really weird. One of my friends who I'd gone to uni with and did drama, she was working for a theatre company, and she called me and she was like, I know you danced at uni, I don't know how interested you are in acting, but there's this immersive theatre show, they're looking for this part, they've looked at Spotlight, they can't find anyone they like, would you like to audition for it? I was like, yeah, absolutely. So I auditioned for it and got the role. So I was performing 5 nights a week in London Bridge.
What show was it?
It was called, what was it called? Lockdown Town. It was like 8 tunnels, and you go through, the audience follows the story like through the 8 tunnels, and I was in tunnels 3 and 7. So I do like, you're in each tunnel for half an hour. So I'd be, for the first 15 minutes, I'd be in tunnel 3, and then there's a door at the back of tunnel 3. I'd run through that door and be performing in tunnel 7 for the next 15 minutes. And then I'd do that back to back like 8 times.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Okay, so also, I didn't think you'd go into dance, because that's one of the things that I didn't realise you'd done.
I picked up dance at uni because I had loads of friends who danced. I just loved it. The only thing is, all of my friends who had danced and grown up dancing, they had the way they move with such a confidence. I always felt slightly behind because I picked up as an adult. By the time you're an adult, you don't pick things up in the same carefree way. I was constantly thinking about what I was doing. And so when I was enjoying it and knew the moves and wasn't thinking about it, I was dancing really well. But then I'd get inside my own head and mess up.
So how did you find the experience of doing theatre? Having gone from accountancy in uni to doing theatre, were you this is finally what I want?
Yes. I was like, this is how I want to, no matter what I do, this is how I want to feel. Because it was so, as I said, I was doing that 5 nights a week, 8 shows a night. I was physically tired, but mentally felt amazing, every day. And it was I love this. I love doing this. So it was amazing. And it made me feel very vindicated because I was kind of if I'd done it and hated it, it would have worried me because I said, oh, right, you gave up accounts because you didn't like it. Now you don't like this. What do you actually like? But it made me realize that, performance, creative stuff, that's where my heart lies.
That's really cool. So did you start doing TikTok while doing the theatre?
No, that show then had to get shut down because of the second lockdown, because of November 2020.
Great.
And that's when I started making TikToks. And that's when TikTok turned into what it is for me now.
Okay, so how did that work? Did you feel weird posting on it? Did you do the dance trends?
So in my what you call it, you can have videos that only you posted that only you can see.
Yeah.
In there are a few dances because I tried a few things. I tried a lot of things because I was also in the back of my mind aware that if I could gain a platform with TikTok, that I could do music and I could do kind of stuff I'm interested in. So I tried a few things to see what stuck, and then when I was trying to do trends, nothing was really working. So I was kind of, right, again, I might as well do something I like, so that even if people are watching it, at least I liked making it.
And did you start it thinking it would be a profession? Because that's the thing, with YouTube, when it first came around, people started and they didn't know where it was going to go. And now there's a generation who are I know I want to be a YouTuber. But TikTok was kind of still an unknown entity in some ways. So did you start it knowing you wanted it to be?
No, I didn't know. And even thinking, if I get a big platform, I didn't think of that as, if I get a big platform, I can then be a professional TikToker. I just thought if I had a big platform, I can turn that into something in music or something in a more established industry. I didn't realize that just having that platform on TikTok alone would be enough to earn money from.
Yeah. And so, okay, lots of things here. So you ended up being signed to TikTok's music label,
yes.
SoundOn, right? How did that process happen? And did you get approached by more traditional labels? How did that happen?
So SoundOn's whole ethos is to, when I was approached by people from TikTok, and they kind of pitched SoundOn to me, it was to elevate the artists themselves and to keep the artists independent. And they asked, is your goal to be signed to a major label? Is it just to release your own music? Do you actually want this to be your full-time career? It's just a part-time thing. Because one of the amazing things about TikTok as it pertains to music is that it's taken a lot of power away from the traditional big powers in music. An artist can essentially gain a following that's bigger than anything that a label can artificially give them. And there's a lot of major labels, most major labels are telling the artists to post TikToks because that's how you get a big audience these days. So SoundOn was very much right, TikTok, while music is blowing up on TikTok, artists are blowing up on TikTok. Without us being involved whatsoever, how can we help artists to blow up on TikTok and push artists who already have a platform? And the way they do that is obviously they're my distributor rather than a label. So I don't have to do anything according to them. They get a percentage of everything of all my streams and stuff, but they don't, the vast majority is still mine. And I own all my masters. So that's
huge.
Yeah, that's where they enter the market. That sounded better to me than anything else. And at that point as well, I already had my own audience, so I knew I didn't want to sign to a bigger label or anything like that because I wanted to own everything I make.
It's interesting because I think when we were growing up, and you're still younger than I am, but when we were growing up, the only way to become a musician or an artist was to sign to a major label. And how do you feel about that artist label dynamic? Now you've seen a different side of it.
I'm not a big fan of it. I now know a lot of people a lot of musicians. I met a lot of my favorite musicians. I know a lot of musicians who are signed to labels. And I wouldn't necessarily put this on individuals. I think this is just the way that the industry works and has always worked. And unfortunately, it's one of those things that's bigger than the individuals. So it's kind of even if someone wants to do it a different way, it's not the way it works. So they can't do it the way they would want to or whatever. But essentially, there's too much power with the labels, and there is too much that isn't explained to artists either. I have a friend who signed a deal and got his advance and didn't realize how an advance works, kind of thing. So when he was recording his first project, it was very much his label was spending loads on stuff that he wouldn't necessarily spend loads on, and it's coming out of his pocket. And just small things like that is really stressful. So yeah, I'm not a fan of the artist label dynamic. And also now, as I said, there's loads of artists you hear loads of artists complaining about it, that they have to post TikToks, and now artists have to be content creators as well. And the whole point of them signing to labels was so they could just focus on the music, and all that stuff was left to the labels, whereas now they had to do both. So you have to do both anyway. You might as well do both on your own terms rather than your label telling you need 3 TikToks from me this week. Like, it's, yeah.
And maintain the power. Yeah, that makes sense. And it's interesting as well. There's a lot of, when you get the advance, how few artists make it past like a first album. I think people think when they've been signed, like, that's it. Your life's set. But actually, the amount of work you have to put into it afterwards, and the percentage chance of still making it after that is so low. Yeah.
It's not easy.
Do you feel more in control of your future at this stage? Yes,
I do. All of this was very new to me and very strange, and like, because so much of it was unknown, I spent a lot of, especially the first year that I was a full-time content creator, I spent a lot of it very anxious, like a lot of it very, very anxious. Because I always felt like I'm at the mercy of other people, whether it be my audience, whether it be brands, whether it be, other people have to be interested in me for me to do anything. I had trouble contextualizing it in the same way that you would a regular job. Like when I was working as an accountant, I know what accounting is because loads of people have done it and loads of people can tell me how it works, whereas this is new to almost everybody involved. But now I feel much more in control of my future in terms of having more solid streams of income, having just done more, having more under my belt, having very good management, all of that kind of stuff makes me feel a lot more secure.
That's really, really interesting, because people talk a lot about mental health and being a content creator. And I think it's really hard. And people don't see that side. Often the media talks about like, all of these influencers having a great life. Had you had any anxiety before?
No, not really.
So how do you feel it affected you?
It wasn't easy. It wasn't very easy to do it because doing what I do, the buck starts and stops with me. If I'm not entertaining anymore, I don't earn any money, is how I was looking at it and how I felt. If people aren't interested in me anymore, I'm not really worth anything because the entirety of my worth is what I do. There's no separation between my job and what happens at home. And these aren't things that, these concepts aren't new. I mean, this is freelancing in essence, but there's not much. Well, I think it's one of the few freelance jobs, which is you are front facing all the time. It's always me. It's always my face. It's always me in front of everything and in front of everyone. And yeah, it's small things like having to be in control of everything all the time. Like I don't really clock out mentally. The first 6 or so months, I would be up to like 3 or 4 o'clock on TikTok scrolling. I'm not absorbing this content. I'm not enjoying what I'm watching. I need a new idea. I need to post a video in the next 3 days. Otherwise, I'm going to lose followers. Where's my next idea coming from? And I'm scrolling till 4 a.m. Realizing that wasn't affecting me very well. Realizing it was making me really anxious. Okay, I need better habits. I need to sleep better. I need to eat better. But there's no one to enforce me doing that. I don't have to be on a call with anyone at 9 a.m. I don't have to be in bed, at 10 a.m. I don't have to commute anywhere. So if I don't do those things for myself, this is what happened. And no one's going to tell me off. It just has to come from me. And that was really hard to adjust to as well.
Yeah. It's like this complete independence, but independence with a whole level of social accountability.
Yes.
Based on an algorithm that fluctuates and just, okay, cool. So how did you create a routine that made you feel better?
Having worked a 9 to 5 before helped a lot because I knew what life was like when things were that structured. Working with other people and having management really helped because all of a sudden I was involved in other people's work days. So it was easier for me to work according to their work days. Okay, they're working 8 to 6. I'll do my stuff between 8 and 6 because then I know I'll be contacting them between those hours kind of thing. And being really, really strict with myself in terms of this is what you're doing now, this is what you're not doing now. And I've always been a long-term thinker in terms of the things that I do. Like, as much as I'm loving being a content creator right now, but it's not going to be what I do for the rest of my life. So it's, if you want to be in something creative full time, if you want to do something that you're emotionally invested in full time, you have to manage your emotions correctly. Otherwise, you're going to burn out. So it's treating my emotions like they're important, which again isn't necessarily something I'm used to working in a corporate background, because it's not the priority. Like, we care about everyone's emotions, but there's a job to do. Whereas this, my emotions are involved in my job. So taking care of my job is taking care of my emotions, and vice versa. So yeah, taking myself seriously and taking my emotions seriously has been very, very important.
And so that leads on quite nicely to, like, what is your creative process? Because the thing I really enjoyed about your content, and enjoy about it still, so enjoy about your content. You're still going to make it. Oh no, I've cancelled you. No, is that you don't seem to follow trends. So you don't seem to just mindlessly do trends. And so that means the death scrolling till 4 a.m. to be like, what's my next content? If you were following trends would make sense, because you'd be like, what am I going to copy next? But the fact that that isn't what you did, the death scrolling probably doesn't, doom scrolling, death scrolling, whatever it is, doesn't make sense.
It didn't make sense. It didn't help. As soon as I stopped it, like, now I think about why, but now in hindsight, it's like, why was I doing that? It didn't add anything. And it never worked, by the way. Like, it never was at the point where 3:30, that video, okay, cool, I've got an idea. It didn't happen. But yeah, no, I don't follow trends or anything like that, because again, it's one of the mantras that I just say to myself, like, is I'm in the position I'm in for a reason. People enjoy what I do because it's authentic. And so I have, even whether it's good or bad, I have to do what comes to me naturally. And if people want it, they want it. If they don't, they don't. Fortunately, they want it right now. But I have to do what comes naturally to me, because that's what's got me this far and will continue to get me where I'm supposed to be, kind of thing.
Yeah, and it's this, like, wonderful blend of all these different facets of your personality that come out, like Narnia and Turkish Delight. I'm like, okay, cool, like, great. That's I would, when I think about films and books, food that I thought I'd like from watching a film or reading a book, I did not think Turkish Delight, and I was like, he went straight into Narnia. That is that's niche for TikTok. So, like, how do you come up with your ideas? Even though, like, we've just talked about the difficulties of being a content creator, but one of the privileges that you get once you have a platform is suddenly all your interests are legitimized. It's all like, now I've got proof of concept that I can be interested in something and talk about it and people will watch it. That suddenly opens up loads of things I wouldn't necessarily have started with. I wouldn't have had the confidence to do right at the beginning. But now it's like, I've got a platform. I know people will be interested when I talk. Fine, I might as well talk about this idea and see what happens. In general, I will try to have at least 1 or 2 series of videos at a time where people know what to expect. So say I've tried 2 or 3 things that haven't gone great, I'll return to doing a series of videos that I know people will enjoy. There are a couple of series, like on Instagram, I have my Mindful Moments series where every other Monday I'll talk about what I've been thinking about the last couple of weeks and try to start off everyone's week in a good way. I stick to that religiously, and that's the first series I've stuck to in such a regimented schedule, but that's because that's one of the things that's most important to me, and I want people to have something to come back to and the constant thread on my page. But in general, I'll have the idea, won't think too much about it, just record it. I just not think too much about it. And then if it does well, do another version. Exactly. So like the You videos. Exactly. So do you want to, you said you had something you might be able to talk about with the You videos. Yes. Well, this comes out in a month. Yeah. Well, all go well. This Wednesday, I'll be this week, I will be doing a live stream with Netflix as Netflix US, not Netflix UK, which is huge. Ooh, on the 9th when it comes out. On the 9th when it comes out with 3 other creators, which is massive, like super massive. That's so cool. Are they creators you admire? I don't know who they are yet. We have a rehearsal tomorrow, so I'll meet them then. Ooh. And this is the other thing about content. A lot of the time, you don't have time to be there. This is happening tomorrow. You'll meet them then. You can live stream on Wednesday. So it's like, okay, fine. Like, yeah, just go with it. Awesome. Oh, it's so I'm over the moon. All for like, to me, those videos are so stupid. They're really dumb. But I love that you're like, they're stupid, and I'm like, I love them. No, they're stupidly good in that because they're insane because they're so ridiculous. Like, they're so over the top. It's the kind of thing that when I'm at home and I'm annoying my mum,
I'll do an impression of Joe from Beach. Just stop it, like leave me alone. But everyone on the internet loves it. And it is something I love to do. I really, really love to do. The only time I ever stop doing those videos, I kind of rein it in a little bit, is when people go, I'm having trouble distinguishing you from the character. I'm like, okay, and all characters not be able to distinguish me from.
You're like, I'm not Joe. I promise.
I don't think like this. Then
it's funny, you do like books though. Now I'm stressed.
No, please. Someone said you definitely have a secret passageway in your house. And then sometimes I will get comments where someone's like, this is exactly me, this is exactly how I think. I'm like, whoa, like, you missed the point.
You have problems. Therapy. Yeah. Well, it's funny as well because you're an actor, so you're like, oh, at least I'm a good actor.
At least, do you know what? At least it's convincing.
Yeah, that is so cool. So how do you feel when like these moments happen with brand deals where it's, because I know TikTok is very like up and down with brand deals, right? And it's hard to do a brand deal that performs well on the platform. So this feels like the Netflix you want feels like a really natural fit.
Yeah.
And when these opportunities come up, like, how do you assess whether to take them or not? And then how does it make you feel when it's like a great one?
So the first consideration is always, when was the last time I did a brand deal? Because I don't want my page to ever be too full of, I'm promoting this, I'm promoting that, I'm promoting this. As I keep saying, but it's so integral to everything, is that I have very, very good management. So the first conversation we ever had, they said, name us brands you would like to work with. What do you never want to do? What kind of thing are you interested in to getting more into? And that has been like a real godsend, because that means everything that comes to me, everything I get told about immediately is something that they know I'm interested in. So I can always sell it in an authentic, not even sell it, but just promote it in an authentic way, because it's something I'm actually genuinely interested in. So yeah, the first consideration is, am I genuinely interested in this? Money is always a consideration as well. I haven't, fortunately, really ever had to promote anything that I don't believe in and that I wouldn't use myself, which is really, really cool.
Which is rare for TikTok creators as well, because often you don't end up monetizing that much of your content, and TikTok creators, it's like, I need to get a brand deal this month. And I think people think they're making a lot of money, when I think most creators aren't making
it's an average, like it's an average living, which is absolutely nothing wrong with. It's really cool to make an average living from creating videos, but it also means, you need to pay rent every month, you need to earn money every month. That's how it is. And when I say that there's absolutely no slight on anybody who has had to take brand deals and stuff they wouldn't particularly believe in, because you have to earn money. That's how it is. And it's hard to directly, near impossible to directly monetize your TikTok videos themselves. Like, the Creator Fund doesn't pay very much. So yeah, I'm just very fortunate that I got in my management at a point where, at an early enough point where it didn't end up having to do that. But I would have done it if I had to.
Well, you can look straight in the camera and be like, thanks Shift.
Thanks Shift, thanks Chloe, Adam, Marley, Sydney and Ponyo.
Yeah, they are such a lovely team as well.
Wonderful team, really, really lovely team.
Yeah. So if you're looking for management, they're very discerning. But
check out their TikTok as well, because they have loads of, even if they aren't the management for you, they have all the advice to any creator who's looking for management, what you should be looking for, what you shouldn't go for, all of that kind of stuff. Yeah, really useful.
So what was your first TikTok that blew up, and how did that happen?
I was analysing, I wanted to do a cover of Close to You by Frank Ocean. He's got a lot, like really heavy intentional auto-tune on his voice on that song, and TikTok had just introduced a voice filter where you could use auto-tune. So I wanted to do a cover of it. But the auto-tune on TikTok, you couldn't obviously select what audio to use it on, so it would work on the piano and my voice, so it was really distorting the piano, which is really annoying. So I just decided to talk about my favourite lyric from the song and then sing the lyric, which I posted that video, went to sleep, didn't think anything of it, woke up the next morning and I had 100,000 views on that video, which was like crazy. Like, I didn't know how to concept, like my phone was every 2 seconds, which is how it works with TikTok. If a video goes viral, all of a sudden, every 2 seconds, there's a notification. I was like, wow. And those people were asking me, can you do this for another song? And I think this is the case with a lot of creators, in that you do something that you don't particularly realize people will be entertained by, and they are. And it's really, when that happens to be something that you can do quite easily, that's kind of like the golden spot kind of thing, where it's like, yeah, absolutely, let's go, let's keep doing this. So I did it for another Frank Ocean song. I did it for white Ferrari,
Yeah.
and then someone said, "Can you do this for Ivy?" So I did it for Ivy,
Ivy's
and Complex reposted it, which was huge, like really, really huge. All of a sudden, like loads of followers. I went from like 1,000 TikTok followers to 100,000 in 9 days or something like that. Which, yeah, again,
Wow,
crazy. Then someone said, "Would you do this for other artists?" I said, "Yeah, absolutely. Like, could you do this for SZA?" Did Drew Barrymore by SZA, which is my first video to like truly make it like international, because that video got I think 700,000 views, but that was the first time I started getting like hate comments. I was getting loads of Americans like, "Why does he talk like that? Why does he sing like that? Why is he so out of tune?" And I was gonna delete this video. I was like, I can't handle people talking about me like this. And my girlfriend said, "No, just put your phone down. Just don't even look at it. Don't even think about it." We were in lockdown as well, so like you always
it feels very personal.
felt very personal. So I don't even think about it. Woke up the next day, looked at my phone, and I had about 30 DMs on Instagram. And at this point, I don't post on Instagram, just on TikTok. Got about 30 DMs on Instagram. I was like, what have I done? What's been leaked? And it was all my friends. They were all sending me SZA's story, because SZA had posted the TikTok on her story. And this was me analysing her lyrics, saying what I thought about them and singing. And she had reposted on her story. And that was like, in my mind, was a huge turning point, because it was, the cosign was massive. Being posted on a platform that big was massive, but also it was so validating. It was like, this is something I created. And at that time as well, TikTok, if a TikTok's not like 10 seconds, it's not really going viral. Whereas I was talking for a whole like minute and a half in these videos. The person who actually made this song liked it enough
so much
that they put, and that was really validating. It was massive. Yeah.
It's so interesting that other communities reposting and spotlighting you, also like artists and Complex, like that helped you get in front of people.
Massive.
That's a massive endorsement. Okay, that's really cool.
Really cool.
And if you deleted it that night 'cause hate comments,
You'd
never be where you are now.
No. But that's like, when you are creating, it's very hard to remember that most people who insult things that you create either don't create themselves, or there's no one that's happy with their life that's commenting nasty things on people's posts. Like, no one. That is 100 times out of 100. That is the case. Like, whenever someone comments something nasty to me now, I think there's nothing I can say back to you that life isn't clearly doing already, because otherwise you wouldn't be in this comment section saying these things about someone you don't know and have no. I mean, I get a lot more of it now that I have a bigger platform, because people think I always see it. But it's always, I always see it, I just think there's no way that you are happy in doing this.
Yeah.
Because I'm the only one who's happy that's doing this.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, and it can make things really difficult, but it's very, very important to remember that most of the time as well, those people aren't creating anything. They're not doing what you're doing. Have you the Theodore Roosevelt speech, "The Man in the Arena"?
No, go on.
So LeBron James is my favorite basketball player, one of my heroes. And before every game, he writes "The Man in the Arena" on his shoes. And it's from a Theodore Roosevelt speech, where essentially he says, the person that matters isn't the critic or the person who points at the strong man who's doing the things. It's the man in the arena. It's the person who's actually doing that. And even if that person fails or falls short, at the very least, they will know what it feels like to have tried. And that automatically places them above anyone who has never tried anything but will point and criticize. And I really like that. That's really how I think when I create, when I put things out. It's like, even if I'm criticized for this, or if it doesn't do well and people laugh at it and all that kind of stuff, at least I tried it. And that automatically puts me at a level where I can feel a level of pride that someone who hasn't tried won't be able to feel, because they never tried it.
I really like that perspective. I also find that, like, with creators, often if you reply to someone who posts a hateful comment in a nice way, they're always like, "Oh my God, I'm sorry, I didn't mean it." Yeah. It's quite a funny dynamic. I think they're often in quite a dark place and don't expect to be noticed. And then when you notice them back, there's a different person.
And I think fundamentally, the idea is maybe naive, just whatever, but fundamentally, I think we're all good people, decent people. So anyone posting something like that is in a bad place, rather than necessarily be an altogether bad person. So there's been times where I've even messaged people privately just to see. I just want to see what the response is. And once you talk to someone and see them as a human being, automatically people snap back into, "Oh, that actually isn't appropriate to say or to do." But when you're an entity, you're not an actual person, you're just this person or this thing in my phone that entertains me. They don't see you as a person enough to restrict themselves from saying those kind of things. But when they see you as a person, you message them or reply to them, it's all of a sudden they realise that it's not an appropriate thing to do.
I think it's good that you DM them sometimes.
Yeah, I like it.
So you said that you don't think TikTok's going to be what you do forever. What do you want to do in the long run?
That's been a harder question to answer.
Not an accountant.
Not an accountant. nothing. As long as I'm creating, I'll be happy. But it's just difficult to know what form that comes in, because there are constantly doors being opened to me that I didn't kind of see before. I think when I talk about my life and all the things that I've done before, it might seem obvious that, oh yeah, of course you could go into this, but kind of to me, living it and having not planned a lot of the things that have happened to date, it's hard to plan specific things that I want to happen. I'm always there's also going to be a big part of me that wants to go back to music and that wants to do music. But the rational part of me, which may not want to be an accountant, does want something that I know is stable and secure. And at this point as well, when I was quitting accounting to do something creative, that was to do something I love. Now there are multiple things that I do that I love, and it's more about what's the prudent move rather than what you really just want to do. I think if it's just what I want to do, I'd start making music again, but that's not what I built an audience for, and that's not where my opportunities are right now. Something that's come up recently is me filming on a show for Woo and ITV called No Wrong Answers that I'm presenting on, and I find that I love presenting. I love presenting, so I'd love to do something to do with that. I'd love to do voiceover stuff as well. Every time I do a mindful moment video, someone says, "Oh, you should do a Headspace or you should do Calm," and I'd love to do anything like that.
That's your dream brand deal then.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Headspace is my Headspace and Calm are my two dream things. I'd love to do audiobooks as well, because I read all the time. I read every day, because being mindful of being on my phone, etc. One of the things in my schedule is that at least an hour before I go to bed, I'm not looking at my phone. But obviously, I'm not just going to sit there and stay in space. So I started reading again last year, and it's really helped. Like, I love it.
I watched your TikToks on that. So you read, like, you have a structure. You read like a book you would have read as a child, a fiction book and a non-fiction book. Is that each in a month?
Yeah, each in a month.
That's cool.
Usually, because I've set that, like, I'll do that and then I'll read more, kind of thing.
That's awesome. Yeah. That's really cool. So how has presenting changed you?
I think it's made me aware of my confidence. I think I used to have a lot of bravado, because I know that, especially in creative arenas, unfortunately, the whole closed mouths don't get fed kind of thing. You have to present yourself a certain way and put yourself in certain spaces and draw attention to yourself in a positive way to get things. And I have been doing that because it was the right thing to do, rather than because I felt I was capable of it. It's like, I'm just going to do it. I'm going to do it scared kind of thing. Whereas now, and especially presenting, I realized how genuinely comfortable and confident I felt looking at it. When we watched, so the day the first episode of No Wrong Answers came out, it was actually Valentine's Day. So I was out with my girlfriend the whole day, and people were mentioning, like, have you seen it yet? Do you like it? And I said, no, I haven't seen it. I'll watch it when we get home. And one of my friends said, are you not nervous because you don't know, like, how they've cut it together and all that? I said, no, because everything I said was me. So I don't really, whatever I said, I know I'll feel okay about it. And that's where I kind of realized, wow, like, I'm actually I think I'm quite genuinely confident as a person now, which is really nice. That's
really, yeah, because a lot of content creators, if they're not editing, don't feel that way.
Yeah.
Whereas it sounds like you trust who you are.
Yes.
So you trust how someone's going to portray you.
Yeah.
You talked about, before we started, about your style as well and how that's evolved. Because it's funny when you talk about, like, closed mouths don't get fed and you need to put yourself out there. Since I've met you, I've been like, oh, he's got great style. And you're saying that's quite a new thing.
That is definitely, yeah, it's really a new thing. It's really a new thing. Because
overt.
I'd say that I've always known, like, if there's a special occasion that I can put an outfit together. But day to day, going around town, what am I wearing, has always been, I'm just, not basic, but just a very simple way. Like, I wouldn't really think outside the box. But I feel like quite an individual person. So I felt like the way I was dressing wasn't reflecting that enough. But I had no idea where to start, because I've never had an interest in fashion. One of the few creative areas I've never had any interest. And all of a sudden, being a content creator, meeting loads of other amazing creators and stuff like that, everyone is so fashionable, everyone knows how to dress, and it's kind of like, right, I'm standing in these rooms with these people, and they were just like this, and I don't know what I'm doing. And all the advice that I got from everyone was just find something that works for you, which sounds very vague, but I got what they kind of meant. The only thing is, obviously, you don't want to miss, like, you don't want to, but you have to.
You have to fail sometimes.
You have to fail.
And it's
sometimes.
Okay. You're the man in the arena.
There we go. That's it. That's what it always comes back to. This is what it always comes back to. especially being on No Wrong Answers, and especially through last year, like I post get ready with me videos every now and then, just to test the waters, which is another thing TikTok's very good for. It's not the same as Instagram, where I think Instagram people look at feeds a lot more, whereas TikTok, quite often people follow you from one video they see on their FYP, and they'll scroll you through your page, but they don't look at your page kind of as a whole. So you can post a few throwaways and try a few things out and see what works and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, there are a couple of outfits that are now in the archives, but I feel like I've now found my style.
Found a vibe.
Yeah. I found something that fits me, something that I feel comfortable when I'm wearing. Yeah.
And what are you excited about in the next year?
I'm excited to take bigger steps into the offline world. I think the whole point of anything that you do, you go to uni, you work certain jobs, etc., is all transferable skills. And I think I have really seen content creation and influencing as working on improving my transferable skills for creative endeavors outside of the online sphere. So what I'm most excited for is opportunities that would exist offline. All the things that I named, like being on Headspace, audiobooks, presenting, all that kind of stuff is all offline. I'd really like, ideally, for my online platform to be something I return to because I want to, rather than my day-to-day bread and butter. Not that I'm complaining if it continues to be that for a couple of years. I'm super grateful to be in the position I'm in. But what I'm looking forward to mostly, is seeking those opportunities and continuing to push the boundaries of what I think I can do creatively. One of the things that I'm very fortunate about is that from the start of me creating videos, they've always been what I want to do and what I think is good creatively. One of the biggest things to never let go creatively is that quite often people don't know what's entertaining until you give it to them. So I think, pushing myself creatively, doing more stuff offline, that's what I'm looking forward to.
And two more questions. What do you see as success? So at what point will you look at yourself and be like, I've been successful? If there is one.
I see myself as successful already because I earn a stable living from doing something creative. That really is my level of success. There have been times actually where I was talking to my younger brother about this the other day, where, because you often in life feel like you should be doing more, and I feel like I question my own ambition. Am I ambitious enough? Like, am I doing enough or trying to do enough for the opportunities I know I could have? But at the moment, I'm quite satisfied because I didn't know or think that I'd be here. That doesn't mean that I'm not going to push for more, etc. But I am very grateful to be where I am and count what I'm doing as a success. And I think if you're not able to do that along your journey, you'll never reach a point of satisfaction either. So I'm very pleased with where I am. I count myself as successful. And when I do bigger things, I'll see that as being successful in a different way rather than finally being successful, if that makes sense.
Like you're already there because you're already happy with yourself.
Yeah.
It's a really big deal. And then what advice would you give to someone who's thinking of starting TikTok now, like you when you're an accountant, thinking about it, not sure what the next step is?
Start doing it as I'm thinking about it. Because the sooner you start, the quicker you get to the point where you want to be. Things aren't going to do very well, but as long as you can stand by your process, the process that led you there and the things that you've done, that's absolutely fine. And thirdly, you are the person in the arena, so don't anybody who's kind of disparaging towards the things that you're doing, it doesn't matter and it doesn't count because you're actually doing it.
That's awesome. That was great.
No Wrong Answers is now streaming on ITVX and planetwoo.co.co. That's it.
Cool. Yeah. Check it out. Yeah. If you have any questions, we'll pass them on to you. So comment them below. Yeah. Cool. That was phenomenal. Thank you very, very much.
Lovely. LinkedIn isn't going to be angry that I said I hate it. Right?
Yeah, it's okay.
It was just one of the most freeing things I ever did.
Thank you very much for listening to this podcast. We hope you enjoyed this episode and maybe we'll see you for the next one. Bye.